I think I just cracked the code on odor below the belt. And I think I'm going to be able to tear down the entire feminine hygiene industry that has this baked in assumption that the vagina is to blame for odor below the belt, and they're wrong.
I have Dr. Shannon Klingman, who is an OB-GYN, a wise woman, and has become one of my favorite people.
Women were being over-medicalized for vaginal conditions they never had, and being over-treated with antibiotics they never needed, and walking out of the office with a diagnosis of bacterial vaginosis as an explanation for odor.
God has equipped you mightily. Shannon, you are going to change the lives of millions of people.
Well-behaved women rarely make history, and you're going to ruffle some feathers and you're going to make some people angry, but you're not here to live their life. You're here to live yours. Imagine creating a product in a new category that's going to disrupt the way women feel about themselves and their skin and eliminate the odor between showers that makes us the most self-conscious. I was going to be able to change the lives of millions of women.
So everybody, I am literally jumping out of my seat because this morning I have Dr. Shannon Klingman, who is an OB-GYN entrepreneur extraordinaire with exits, which is everybody's goal. She is a wise woman and has become one of my favorite people just because we were courageous enough to cold DM or cold call, if you will, in modern time. And so one reason I'm thankful for social media is because I get to be now around people like you. But I think about you every day, my girlfriend, not only because I think about you every day, but because like this morning, I had my tube of Lume body wash that does the real thing. And so the first time we had a phone call after we're like, I got to meet you. Let's DM. Let's do something. You told me the whole story, the whole Lume founding story, starting as a OB-GYN, sitting in the fishbowl at work, which is where you guys gathered apparently to do your charting, realizing that there had to be a better way. Do you mind sharing us? Because I think that'll lead us into your business, into whatever part of your personal life you want to talk about. But you and I were in the shower together this morning, Shannon.
I am Lume. I say, I am Lume. If Lume was a person,
you would be it.
Yeah, I would be it. But I love this story because I think it really is a story about where good ideas come from everywhere. And then it just takes persistence and never fail, which is easier said than done. But as an OB-GYN resident, I really recognized that women were being over-treated, over-medicalized for vaginal conditions they never had, and being over-treated with antibiotics they never needed, and walking out of the office with a diagnosis of BV or bacterial vaginosis as an explanation for odor. And there's this vicious revolving door that when you notice this odor and you are treated for it, it gets in your head like, there's something wrong with me. And so when that odor returns, you just call the doctor's office and they phone in another prescription for you. And I noticed that this was happening like more than 5 times a year for some of the patients that I was seeing in our resident clinic. And these are walk-in clinics. It's a population for women who are uninsured or don't have an assigned physician. And so it's kind of an urgent care situation. But we did have a consistent following of quite a few women, repeat customers and patients that were coming in. So it wasn't as if I was seeing these women one time and I was just taking their word for it. What I was recognizing is they were being seen by healthcare providers. An objective or a subjective evaluation was happening where you're looking at, is there discharge? Yes or no? Well, that's subjective. Is there odor? Yes or no? Well, check the box, yes. Is the pH of the vagina a little bit elevated, which can be an indicator of BV? Well, there's a lot of reasons why a woman's vaginal pH would be higher. Post-intercourse, post-menses, and then in the peri and postmenopausal years, the pH of vaginal discharge goes up. So really, we have really benign and physiological explanations for why these things could be true, but yet we were given women this label. So I suspected that these odors were happening on the outside when I personally experienced it. I was trying to get pregnant as a resident and I was post-call and I went to use the bathroom and I sat down and I smelled that smell. And I was like, do I have BV? And then I did some checking around and I recognized that, it's this odor is on the outside. and it's happening because of exposure to semen. And my suspicion at the time was that bacteria that are commonly found in our GI tract find their way to the outside of our anatomy. And those high pH fluids are consumed by those bacteria and odors are formed. And so, and I went home and I thought, my word, I think I just cracked the code on odor below the belt. And I think I'm going to be able to tear down the entire feminine hygiene industry that has this baked in assumption that the vagina is to blame for odor below the belt, and they're wrong. So I created something in my kitchen that remedied it, but you can't sell that on the open market. Plus I was an OB resident, you're up at 4.
I want to picture this. You get home, you're dragging home from your post call, you go to the kitchen, you get your pots and pans out, and you're like, this is going to change pH. This is going to change pH.
And there was no internet. There was, Amazon was selling books at the time. It wasn't like there was an abundance of information to go figure out how to create lotions and potions and creams. But really, I created this with my KitchenAid out of a basic understanding of how emulsions were made. And I was able to create something that eliminated that external odor. And then using it on repeat for the next few days, I was appalled that just normal day-to-day odor that we all get from working out and using the bathroom and periods and intercourse and all the things, that was completely gone. It was a nothingness of odor. And I got really excited about it.
Well, you know what? I didn't meet your products with skepticism because of you, but just because it is paradigm changing. So before we got on the phone the first time, I went and I bought some, and you are right. I'm like, it is an absence. It's not like a masking. It's just like nothing. And it's because you speak to the chemistry. You change the root cause, not just put a layer of whatever, Chanel number 5 on top or something.
Yeah, right? No, in fact, fragrance has nothing to do with the benefits of Lume, the chemistry of Lume. What I actually use the science of individuals that have a fishy odor syndrome called metabolic acidemia or trimethylamminuria, where they have an abundance of certain amino acids, choline being one of them, and they lack the enzyme to digest that. So when it gets to the lower GI tract, those anaerobic bacteria that don't require oxygen that live in the gut,
in the colon,
digest those amino acids, and an odor is formed, a fishy odor. And that is the chemistry that I used. And I looked at the enzymes necessary for that metabolic process to take place, which inevitably ends up in that odor. But then I hired a lab in LA and said to them, this is my hypothesis. I think this is what's happening. And they helped me either prove or disprove my hypothesis.
You did a study.
I did a study. It cost me $25,000 as a resident that I didn't have. And I thought, I'm going to change the world of feminine hygiene with this, and everybody's going to be so excited. But I was shocked that there were people who were excited about it. No doctors were excited about it. They were like, well, yeah, I mean, we all know that. It's like, it was so simple, Vonda. And the solution was just staring us in the face, but nobody had taken it over the finish line. And so I risked everything and did that, but tried to partner with all the big deodorant brands, like, the CPG companies like Procter & Gamble, Unilever. They all told me no. And so I had to figure out how to do it on my own. And I didn't know the first thing about any of this.
You just finished your residency, then you got another education, product development, distribution, marketing, business. It's a lot.
It sat on the burner for over 15 years. I mean, I was a resident, and then, I didn't do anything with it because, don't quit your day job, right? When you're practicing medicine, you're putting on the robes of medicine. It's a calling.
It is.
And, there's a little bit of this, like, how dare you use your education to go start a business and create, revenue for your family. That just seems, it felt a little, it went against what I think the culture of medicine really promotes. But I felt this, and I'm going to say this, I felt like let's say I saw 1,000 patients a year, right? Delivered 10 babies a month. If you're able to impact and change the lives of those individual women But imagine creating a product in a new category that's going to disrupt the way women feel about themselves and their skin and eliminate the odor between showers that makes us the most self-conscious. I was going to be able to change the lives of millions of women. And that's how I saw it.
And that's how I view it. But I want to go back to something you just said, this culture of how dare you use your education to change the course of history or to change society. How dare you use your education to build products? Because that, Shannon, I know you and I have talked, is so pervasive. You were attacked for doing the right thing. You were attacked. How dare you use your MD? While we're sitting in a culture right now where there are MDs who never even practiced, who are using their MD
to build
businesses. So
platforms and stuff.
Where do you think that comes from? Like, doctors aren't allowed to use their brains for anything more than what I was surgically.
I think very few physicians are good at business. You know, I don't know that there are many of us that are truly entrepreneurial. That, you know, I looked at life through the lens of, you know, how you could make that better? Just chronically, everything I saw, you know what you could do? You know what else you could do? I was always like, yes, but.
Yeah.
And
did that annoy your attending, Shannon?
I think it did. And I was not an easy child to raise. If you talk to my mother, she will tell you that I still think I'm the toughest one of all her kids. But I think that it's perceived as a selfish pursuit to go start a business for personal gain, right? And that's how they see it. But these bright minds that are out there creating and innovating and changing the trajectory, I felt as if like I was one individual. I was a one-off inventor. The odds were completely stacked against me that I was going to have any success in an open market against the big deodorant industry, that I was going to crack any code. I was more likely to get squashed and fail than to be successful. So if anything, I think what it speaks to is where there is a white space and there is a lacking in a space of need. If you can go fill that need, why shouldn't it be you who goes and is given the ability, the time, talent, the energy, and you're willing to sacrifice your resources and all of those blessings and talents that you've been given to go pursue it? I would say if anybody has an idea and they feel discouraged in taking the step off the curb, come sit by me because I'll be your biggest cheerleader. I think that we should be doing more innovating as physicians outside of these conglomerates of, you know, these bureaucracies of medicine. We only receive 2% of VC backing. That's 2% of resources. And I thought, gosh, please tell me this isn't because I'm a woman. I refused to believe that was true. I just thought my business wasn't on a solid enough foundation.
But the reality is that the men in the boardroom don't understand this. They don't have vaginas. They aren't burdened with this shameful message. You may think your bones are fine, silent, but if you're a woman over 40, your bones are talking to you. And unbreakable bone is how you answer back. During perimenopause and menopause, your bone loss can triple without us even knowing it. That is why I created my 8-shield Building Better Bone program, including Unbreakable Bone Nutrition Augment. Built on clinically studied collagen, microcrystalline hydroxyapatite, and the essential micronutrients your skeleton needs. It's the only formula designed by an orthopedic surgeon who spent 25 years rebuilding bone, muscle, and movement. Stronger bones are the foundation of a longer, more powerful life. Start building your unbreakable era today at shop.drvondawright.com. I agree with all of that. You know what, as I'm ruminating here, thinking about what you're saying, there is the benefit of you stepping outside the box, following your brain, following your gut on the pure science. If we just, you created this new category, revolutionary, patented it. But it's more than that, Shannon. It is a shame squelcher. Right? You must get comments on your customer service pages about, or with the patients that, you know, who used to come to you with the something is wrong with me attitude. The reality is, it's just chemistry. Have you seen women responding to you like, oh my God, thank you for making me know that I'm normal?
So, and women do, we do such a good job of blaming ourselves and making ourselves feel like there's something wrong with us. We're not clean enough. We're not feminine enough. One of, many things. But then when they try Lume and those odors they've just been living with are gone, they're like, this is life changing. I heard over and over and over again, and I continue to, from women who say that they have struggled. And they struggle with the mind bending, like psychology of being told that they have something wrong with them and that what's available on the market prior to Lume was just as good as it got. And they kind of had to live with it. And then offering up that science-based, explanation as to why it's happening, but then the solution that just makes it one less thing they ever have to worry about again. It's the best part of my job is hearing about how life-changing it is. And, to be clear, when I first had the idea and thought I needed to partner with somebody who was way smarter than me, like the other big CPG companies, I opened the kimono, spilled my guts, told them everything about my idea and this invention that was pre-revenue at the time. I mean, I wasn't selling it at the time. Wanted a co-development partner. They could have said to me, Shannon, we're going to give you 10% of this company. We need 90%. They could have said to me, we'll give you $100,000 for the idea. I think that there was a time in this process where I would have said, okay, because I just wanted to see it on the market, solving the problems that were really, really, I think, getting into the minds of women. And then when all the hate, I would say, there's a loud minority of disappointment in me. There were a couple women in the OB-GYN field that were the toughest punchers. But man, when you are an inexperienced business person and you are so rooted in a desire to change the welfare of women in a way that you feel you are driven to do so, and they are so discouraging and cutting and critical. And boy, I'm telling you, I took to the bed a couple times and just was like, you know what? I don't know that I have a thick enough skin to do this. And it lasted,
A little
36
bit.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then I just eventually had to say that well-behaved women rarely make history, and you're going to ruffle some feathers and you're going to make some people angry, and but you're not here to live their life. You're here to live yours.
And you know what? This is the part of the message, not only the story, which is truly remarkable, but when you came to speak as a multiple keynote at Women's Health Conversations in November, holy cow, the inspirational nature of you talking very honestly about, you just told us you had to sit in bed for a couple days to get over these rudeness. But then, being the microscopic person in a huge industry, right? All the barriers to the success that you've achieved that you just, I'm going to say ignored. You'll probably say worked through, jumped over. I mean, I think your business story is compelling.
I think that I am definitely in the minority, but a super exciting story that if I didn't know this was my story, I don't know that I would believe it was possible 50 years ago, 40 years ago. We're hearing about more and more women, especially, that are taking the risk and swinging for the fences and stepping out of, their comfort zone and are real change makers. But I definitely, when I look back, I don't quite know how I did it when I look at all the roadblocks, but you take them as they come. If I knew then what I know now about how difficult it was going to be and all of the headwinds that I was going to experience, I don't know that I would have ever gotten started. But I had the courage to just take it as it came. I remember when we needed funding, we had gotten my first year in business, in the first 14 months, we did about 2.5 million in sales, which if I'd been standing in front of Shark Tank, I think, Kevin O'Leary may have been excited about that. And I wanted nothing more than for Shark Tank to recognize me and ask me to be on the show. They never did. I went out to Vegas and I auditioned to be on the show, and they said no. And I thought Lume was the perfect company for this. But then, my second year, we 10x'd our business, but we were running, I wasn't taking a salary. We were spending everything we were making and putting it back into raising awareness for the brand, product development and continuous improvement and just all of it, right? And so we were still at a point where I was saying to my kids, like, if this doesn't work out, we have mortgaged our home. We, we have emptied our 401ks. And now I discovered these ads from the Harmon brothers. They did like the poopery ads and squatty potty and, super, I'm like, what's funnier than whole body odor, like odor everywhere? Like the jokes are going to write themselves. So I reached out to them when I was in New York City. I was actually at Good Housekeeping and talking to someone within that organization who was excited about what I was doing with Lume. And, I was considering spending the money to get the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and they put you through a pretty extensive evaluation. So I was out there for that, super excited. I guess I felt like, a little bit inflated. So it gave me the courage to call Harmon Brothers up, and Harmon Brothers is the ad agency that did poopery and squatty potty ads, super funny but very expensive. And the cost was $500,000 to do the ad. But I had so much confidence in the fact that was all we needed, was to shout it from the rooftops that Lume is a change maker, that we are an innovative product that's going to take deodorant to level 2.0, right? New category, controlling odor anywhere on your body. Like, it's
That's right.
like
there was nothing like it.
People need to know about this. Yeah. And I was highly motivated to tear down the feminine hygiene industry. And I think, so I was like, whatever it took, and so we mortgaged our home, emptied our 401k, and we were still short. I went to Wells Fargo, told them I needed the money and what it was for. And I had all this like revenue backing. The story was we were now profitable. And there was a big reason why they should have bet on us, but they didn't. But the discouraging part was they had a cardboard cutout of the MyPillow guy, in the lobby, Mike Lindell. And they were proudly saying they supported his business. I said, I am him. Like, what he's doing right now is what I'm doing with Lume, and I need this backing. And they gave me a $15,000 line of credit.
It's embarrassing.
What was shocking about it was like, what about my story wasn't enough for you?
Yeah.
And I really, now I know that, less than 2% of women receive
any VC funding. That's right.
Yeah. Or we only receive 2% of VC backing. That's 2% of resources. And I thought, gosh, please tell me this isn't because I'm a woman. I refused to believe that was true. I just thought my business wasn't on a solid enough foundation.
But the reality is that the men in the boardroom don't understand this. They don't have vaginas. They aren't burdened with this shameful message.
And I come walking in like probably in a Green Bay Packers sweatshirt and a baseball cap because I still have little kids at home, and I'm doing all the things and running this business, and I'm like telling them all they need to know is the numbers, right? And they're gonna write the check. And so I was very unconventional, and I wasn't what they were used to, and so that's probably why. But we were able to sell product and scrape, and I allowed some additional family members to invest. And we were able to gather the resources to create this ad.
To get the 500K. Yeah.
And it just changed the trajectory of Lume. And now we were off to the races. Yeah. We were flying the plane while we were building it.
Yeah.
When you're scaling that quickly, you see where all the fractures are. You see every weak point when you're growing fast.
Yeah.
And it's like everything is like you're throwing a brick in your spokes, when you're a kid, right?
From manufacturing to distribution, what the funnel wasn't, the customer service funnel wasn't clicking the way it should, blah, 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 all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're trying to add talent to your team as quickly as possible. And, I'm really proud of the work that we did. I would honestly say everybody that I hired in the first 3 years, none of them had experience doing the job they were doing for Lume. These were people who they heard my story. They were incredibly energized and inspired by it, and they wanted to be a part of the program. So they said, how can I help? How can I help? How can I be a part of this? And I took a chance on them, and they took a chance on me. So, when I sold my business in 2021, I stuck around because there was still so much more work to be done. But I made sure that and I think every founder should do this. You need to make sure that if you win, your team wins. Nothing builds loyalty more than it's a we, not an I, right? There's no I in team.
So you exited pretty quickly. Was that because you had done all you wanted to do? I don't think so. Was that because it was the right environment, or did it ever occur to you to keep it for longer, or what? How does that decision get made? Never having had an exit, how does that decision get made?
Well, I was still at a point where I wasn't taking a salary. And and it was working out okay. You know, my husband was a practicing physician, but then once Lume got to a point where now I needed someone at home full time, we were homeschooling our kids. My husband retired, and so now I needed to start taking a small salary. That didn't have anything to do with the exit, but I'm getting to the point of I either need this business either needed to be a family business that was funding our life. So you're actually profitable and you're taking money out of the business and you're using that to live on. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I knew that I lacked the skill set to get Lume into retail, and retailers were not. Target had reached out to me. They were the most persistent about, hey, I don't know if you're aware, but there's a lot of searches for your brand on the Target website. We'd love to get you in the store. And but when you launch in retail, the chances of rookies screwing it up, and I considered myself a rookie, was very high. And I knew that we needed to front load about 9 months of inventory in order to prepare for that national distribution, but we could not starve our online business that was on our Shopify site. So I didn't know how I was going to be able to do this, running a break-even business, turning all the profit into marketing to get the word out. So then I knew I needed a partner on how to navigate retail. So that's where, venture capitalist groups or whatever, even though they wanted to give me money and they would have acquired a percentage of the business, that I didn't need money per
You
se.
needed
I
brains,
I needed
operations.
expertise. Yes. And then we got introduced to Harry's.
Yes.
And Harry's historically, two guys, Andy and Jeff, who founded
Boxes of
Harry's,
razors.
and they were a David and Goliath story, just like Lume. They were going up against Big Razor. They were a disruptive brand. And, Jeff was also a founder of Warby Parker, which is disrupting. You got to go to the eye doctor to get glasses. Like, no, we can send you these at home. So I knew that they were obviously great minds. I think they're way smarter than me. But when I say that, we were just smart in different areas, right? They were business trained and I'm medicine trained, highly ambitious, willing to risk everything. Like I was that wild, crazy, chaotic founder that's like, let's go do this. And they were too a little bit, but they had been there and done that. And they had the experience of an amazing launch with their own product. So we just kind of fell in love with each other immediately. And I thought, well, let's do this. So I sold my company to them, but then I stuck around and ran it still as the operator for a while, but really pretty quickly hired an operator to run the day-to-day business. And I focused on product development and the marketing, storytelling, connecting with the customer, which is really where my heart is at. And that's what I'm doing now, is focusing on that. But less and less. I'm trying to create a little more work-life balance for myself and build the team around me that can be maximizers of my vision.
You know what? Sometimes the public who aren't in this, they see your first ad, they see your rapid exit and think that all success is just you have an idea and it happens. But your story that's not the story you're telling, right? It's your story is about undaunted courage, frankly, undaunted courage and willingness to take risks and be so committed to an idea and give it your all, but then also stepping back and realizing that I say this, and there's probably a better way to say it. Sometimes it takes a village. You needed Harry's expertise. So it's not overnight. It's not just what comes out of your brain. It's being smart enough to choose who gets on the bus with you, right?
Yes. And I think I was always reluctant to bring the wrong person on the bus too soon. because first of all, I was the epitome of how would I do my job if I didn't know how to do my job? You're figuring it out. You're building like I said, you're building the plane while you're flying it. The mystery is existing every single day. You're unfolding like new challenges and problems that you don't have the experience of overcoming, but yet I did it. And I think the message is clear that just because it's hard, it doesn't mean you're not doing it right. And I grew Lume to a 9-figure business. I think that Lume would have been successful continuing as a D2C business, but I knew retail was going to be a challenge that we could not screw up. And so they were critical to the success of my brand for that reason. But yeah, painting a picture of having an idea of being able to risk everything. It sounds really romantic, but it comes at a cost. I think it is personally very expensive. I think that I have the 3 qualities that a lot of people talk about as being most critical for successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it starts, number 1, with a delusion that you're capable of anything.
Right. Yes, I love that. Everything is figure outable, as I've heard said before. You're going to figure it out. I don't know that it's a delusion. It's just this undeniable belief that you're going to just figure it out.
You are capable of anything, but to the people around you, they think this girl's nuts, right? And then this willingness to literally risk everything, and you're just like you're all in, and then this ability to be completely laser focused and neglect everything else that isn't that. So I say my personality is great for business. I don't know that it's great for relationships and families. And, you don't have time for friendships, and your family has to understand that sometimes they're second and third on the list. And they really endured this right along with me. And the third thing is you have this crippling fear of failure.
Yeah.
And, but yet you fail and you stand right up, like incredibly resilient. It's like you don't believe it yourself. When people are defining what just happened to you as failure, you don't believe it, and you just stand back up and brush yourself off and
We'll just
keep
figure
going.
out the next thing.
Yeah. So my lifestyle kind of was terrible. Right. And what I mean by that is my quality of sleep was poor. I definitely wasn't respecting the things that my body needed at the time. And, a lot of people live their life that way. A lot of extremely motivated people kind of say, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
But you know what I see you now? You talked about, you've come through this, you've been highly successful, and now you're taking on the balance that you weren't capable of before. And when I'm online watching you, did you always know how to grow a truckload of beans and can them and eat off the land and become so frigging healthy in terms of your diet and what goes in you? I mean, are these skills you've always had, or is this another example of, I don't know how to farm, but I'm going to figure it out? Or
yeah, my husband was the farmer. He's a physician. He was an OB-GYN as well. He grew up in Utah, and his family, if they didn't grow it or kill it, they didn't eat it.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
They were very self-reliant. And so I learned how to garden from him, and I just fell in love. First of all, I'm a major foodie. I love to cook. And so the process of growing your own food and feeling really good about what you're putting on the shelves, I mean, I've done that for decades now. So I probably need to be a little easier on myself. I was probably better to myself than what I'm recalling, as long as it was related to food, But I figured it out. I figured out sourdough. I figured out how to can.
Yeah.
When COVID happened and everything shut down,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is my lifestyle. Like emergency preparedness,
That's
I was
right.
like, here we go. I'm going to really get to flex this muscle,
Yeah.
And so I think I even became more diligent. We got chickens and have a little bit of I would say a homestead. I don't have cows. I would love a dairy cow. I think that's next for me. My husband keeps
Who's going to milk that thing every day, right? That's the thing.
Right?
Who's
Twice
milking
a day.
her? That's right. Morning and night. You need a farm guy. If that happens, you'll need a farm hand to help with all these things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not opposed to that. Not at all. So definitely up for that. But I'm always up for learning new things. And I think when I am interested in something, I kind of just really dive in and digest as much of it as I can and obsess about it a little OCD in that way. Uh, Become an expert very quickly in my areas of interest. But if I'm not interested in it, I totally, oh boy, and that's, it's been my superpower my whole life. So I'm not going to change.
Well, I love your story. And certainly when you came to our conference, people were so wowed by you sharing all this wisdom with them. And then, so what I want people to do that are listening, if you got a taste of Shannon's brilliance and just heart at Women's Health Conversations, then you were lucky. And if you have not, I mean, if they just watch you every day, you're going to teach them about a lifestyle that you're really devoted to now in terms of how to really be mindful of not only what you put in your mouth, but how you lift weights and care for yourself while doing farming and just house things.
I wish that I need a handler. I wish I had a content creator supporter, somebody to kind of help me with some of that stuff, because there are so many stories I want to tell and so many things I'd like to teach people. And I think, as physicians, physician means teacher, and things that I am interested in and would love to teach more about. But, I throughout Lume, I always knew that I was being hard on myself and I wasn't giving myself everything that I needed. And I remember thinking at some point, I got to jump off this train. At some point, I have to decide that I'm going to put my well being first. And it's very difficult to do that when you have a child. That was Lume for me, like my second love. I say Lume, other than my children, Lume is the most important thing I've ever done in the world. And I thought that was it. I thought, okay, I did this thing and it was really great. But then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It'll be a year in February, and I remember feeling the August prior. I had this banger party at my house for my team where I had. Can I just name drop here for a second?
Oh yeah, please, of course. You did a big party. I've heard of it. Yeah,
I did a huge party, and I said I want my favorites, and I invited James Taylor and John Mayer to come and do music. And I had Guy Fieri and Bobby Flay do the food. And it was just going to be the most amazing garden party. And, you're just praying for good weather, but I was highly confident. We had tents as backup and all that, but it was going to be this amazing party that I was going to just provide for as much for my team as myself. Like, my word, I was so excited. But then John Mayer was injured, and we quickly pivoted to comedy, and we had Nate Bargatze and Steve Martin and Martin Short. And I thought, life does not, I mean, I had so many moments where I thought, what did I do to deserve this? A family who loves me and supports me at all costs. A business that there are a lot of people who work as hard as I did and was willing to do, who do not achieve the level of commercial success that I did. And I am incredibly fortunate. And I do think, and I thought, where much is given, much is expected. What's going to be next for me? And I got this cancer. Breast cancer is what's next for you. And so it definitely got my attention. And I took a bit of a break. I took, a few months to get my
to treat
treatment and do
yourself.
what I needed to
Yeah.
do. Yeah. And, but the one thing that I did immediately say, I can't control the cancer diagnosis, but what I can control now is all the lifestyle contributors that maybe if I change that and turn that bus around, can I decrease the likelihood of risk of recurrence and also all cause mortality and other types of cancers? And I became hyper vigilant in diet, lifestyle, everything I put in my mouth, how I move my body. You were a big part of that. I mean, honestly, huge part of it. You changed my body composition around more than you know. It was my willingness to do the work, but you were really driving the how I was going to go do that.
I have seen you do the work. Even perfect strangers who don't know you, if you scroll back, you can see the work you've put in just in the transformational way. And part of it is recomposition, but even the vibrance of you, because you're living in such a healthy ecosystem. I mean, you can really see that. Do you feel that? Even though it's been a very hard year?
It's been a very hard year, but I'll tell you, if the benefits of breast cancer needed to come with the fear of cancer, I'm glad it happened to me. And people think that sounds crazy, but so many cancer survivors have said the same thing when we're in rooms together, that you get your life in order right now. And the things that are most important rise to the top. And I knew that I was spending way too much time working and I needed to get balance there. And I've done that. But I also knew that I wasn't respecting the benefits of sleep. I wasn't respecting the importance of, like, I think I was eating a lot of what I needed, but I was probably also eating a lot of what I didn't need and what was counterproductive to my health. And also not respecting my, my gut microbiome, which is like what runs my life right now. Like, I'm eating to feed my immune system. And as a major foodie who loves to eat, I had to give up it. I'm telling you, I went through a grieving process of these foods that I love that I am now going to say no to the majority of the time. And it had to be really drastic for me because there was no dabbling.
Right, that what the stakes were. I love what you just said. You are eating to feed your immune system, because I was having another conversation where sometimes we are so fixated on nutrition and our gut in terms of a scarcity mindset. Oh, not that. We're going to diet, blah, blah, blah. But what you have just said is the framework that I love. It's an abundance mindset when it comes to being a foodie, is an abundance mindset, all these beautiful things. But also, I'm going to feed the trillions of bacteria in my microbiome because they are going to protect me. They are going to change my mood. They are going to, all the things, right? And so it puts a completely different frame on why you farm, on why you're conscientious, on why you're willing just to say no to things that you previously loved, like a whatever brand of candy bar, right?
I mean, I made chocolate chip cookies on the weekly, and
Yeah.
I didn't eat one. I was eating 6 with a
Yeah.
huge glass of milk, and
Yeah.
I'm eating the first one, and I'm already thinking about the second one. I have so much food noise in my head, and it's still there, but I'm trying to come up with new and creative ways. But I'll tell you, when you adopt a low carb, high protein, high fiber way of eating, and I am an intermittent faster only because that keeps me disciplined. Not, there's a lot of talk about why that's works for some people. It works for me. And am I consistent in it? Yeah, 90% of the time I'm an intermittent faster. I have an eating window. And working out and moving your body. But I eat high calorie food. I am a high fat, high calorie, and I eat a ton of grains and a ton of fiber and seeds and nuts. And but then I'm working out 6 days a
Yeah.
week. I'm running 6 days a week. I'm doing cardio 6 days a week. And I'm lifting 3 to 4 days a week.
I know.
And one of those days I'm pushing myself as hard as I can. I'm doing really heavy lifting, trying to understand, like, can I get one more rep out of here, and challenging myself in that way. And I have never felt better in my life. And
Isn't it a
I'm so
miracle?
great. It's a mirror. It is literal. It is so transformative. And I'm a woman who had estrogen receptor positive breast cancer that had to stop HRT. And that step down from there was nothing compared to the improvements that I have now adopted in my life. And I feel better than I've ever felt, more empowered. I felt like if I was going to remain healthy before, it was going to be based on luck. I think if I remain healthy now, it's based on high intention, and I'm going to remain healthier longer. However long, God willing, I'm going to be here on this earth. But I thought Lume was going to be it for me, and then we're just going to live this great life, and it's all about my kids, and every day's a Saturday, and But no, now I'm back on this warpath of improving awareness around lobular breast cancer, which people say breast cancer, but I had lobular breast cancer, the second most common type, the most underfunded, the least understood. And I thought, okay, there's a white space. So how do I go disrupt the way we're researching it? And so thinking about ways right now that I can bring other individuals with curiosity and resources to try to change the trajectory of lobular breast cancer research and really for all breast cancer.
You know what I feel, Shannon, and I may be wrong, but having known you a little while now and knowing the story and being in awe of the business story, awe of everything you're doing, today, more than ever, I have felt like, oh my God, you are just beginning. You did this huge thing that nobody does, and then you've completely transformed your health. And I just feel like you have been, I'm going to cry. People were crying because this is what I'm going to do. God has equipped you mightily. Shannon, you have such high capacity. I feel like the path that you are on, I just feel like I need to give benediction that the best is yet to come for you. You are going to change the lives of millions of people. And I'm so excited to watch from the wings to watch you do this because you've already proven your capacity once. And I am so excited for what you're going to do to change the trajectory of the cure for lobular cancer. I just believe it. So much that I'm crying on my own podcast. I believe that you are going to be equipped and the best is yet to come, Shannon. I'm so excited for you.
You are so incredibly nurturing and nourishing for me. I thank you so much for saying that. I will tell you that there is a level, there's a worldly metric of success, and I've certainly achieved that, right? But I have shifted my life towards focusing on the eternal value of things and asking myself, like, in 5 years, will any of this matter? And you just have to be willing to give it away. And it's amazing how much more you receive when you're willing to do that. And it takes courage, and because there's risk involved in that, and giving away, like a willingness to be vulnerable and share your own story, a willingness to share like how hard it was. And don't misrepresent this as having been an easy process. Really be willing to sit in the suffering with people, whether it's entrepreneurs who are struggling with the growth of their business or it's women going through cancer treatment. Be willing to sit in the suffering with them. And I do believe where much is given, much is expected. And I will tell you that if I am being groomed for anything greater, it is by the grace of God. It is not by my doing at all. For some reason, I always think we choose God, but sometimes I wonder, does God choose us? And so I want to be worthy of all the things that I'm being asked to do.
Yeah.
And I want to be given the strength and the courage, if that is if that is, the new direction for my life.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think that the beautiful part about so many women's stories who have who started off as RNs,
Yeah.
like you were a
Like me.
nurse.
Yeah.
And then you became an MD, and that equipped you and empowered you with different talents and abilities to change people's lives. And then as an entrepreneur and as a change maker in the women's healthcare space, I mean, you are sitting at a very small table of women who are doing what you do really well. And I feel incredibly honored to just know you and be your friend and to have been included. I mean, my gosh, I gave my first keynote with you. I was terrified. I didn't want to let Vonda down.
You were
But
brilliant.
I felt like being just in the aura of all of those incredible women who are willing to continue to sacrifice on the behalf of others was just so contagious. And I think while I'm no longer practicing medicine, I think I can still have a really heavy influence in the healthcare of women.
We'll come back. We'll do it again. And plus, I've said that I'm just going to come out and hang up on the farm with you. So we have to make those plans. But I have loved watching you when I didn't know you. I have loved knowing you. And I am looking forward to, now that I know you so well, watching where God's going to take you in the future. So I love you. Thank you for coming today. And I can't wait to see you again.
Thank you, Vonda. I think the world of you. Respect everything that you're doing. Admire everything that you're doing. You make it look easy. And I know that it's not.
You know
I
it's
know
not.
that it's not.
You've been through it. Shannon, thank you so much for being here today.